recording. All right, great. It says 25 minutes, and I'm gonna just put the timer for like 20 minutes. I have a, let me share my screen, and just again. Sorry. Okay. Here, my slide. I have a lot. I put a lots of information in my slide, but I don't think we have enough time to go through in detail. So I'm gonna just go through it. And if you have any questions, please ask me. And I just came back from Japan, and I didn't speak English for like 6 weeks. So if I don't make sense, I'm so sorry. But anyway, here's my topic is promoting activism through ethnic studies. And I'm in Japanese Bilingual Bicultural Program. It's not actually bilingual program. This is a Japanese foreign language program. So we classroom teachers teach all the subjects in English. And also we teach Japanese as a foreign language. So, but this program has a lot to do with the incarceration camps because Sansei Japanese Americans are the main founders. They got together, and because they lost the heritage language after the war. So they in like 40 something years ago, they got together and they founded this program so that their children, their grandchildren can learn Japanese at a school. So anyway, I'm from Japan. I didn't learn anything about this part of the history, but because of Japanese language, I started to teach historical aspect of why Japanese language is so important in San Francisco. And then there's a lots of issues and challenges from my previous work and projects, and anti-bias framework. It really helped me to create lessons. And I used case studies from this workshop, and also hexagonal thinking strategy from Molly. And let me share what I do. I'm also a graduate school student. I'm in doctorate program, and this is how I try to create like a more just and equitable education, and the importance of a narrative that's trying to focus on the Japanese American experience. And that's how I try to teach. And also I just created this why ethnic studies is so important to support student social and emotional development. But I'm just gonna go through. This is my yearly planning. I started with native land acknowledgement, Black Lives Matter, and how why this program was created. And I just toward to the end. I'm sorry. This in the middle. This I introduced the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. And in January, there's a Fred Korematsu Day. So I created the skit about the story of Fred Korematsu. And that's how help raise awareness of what was going on with racism, bias, prejudice. And here's what students said after the play. And they said, they appreciated and then in part by learning the silence, the history of, and also working together, because this is also activism. It's like me and my students try to work together and help the community raise awareness. But there's I saw some of the misunderstanding about that students learn. Students have, for example, in the red, I said, Fred changed the world by doing all of that. So it's not about the only Fred did something like by himself. And a lot of the times I hear this Fred Korematsu helped or saved all Japanese Americans who are incarcerated, which is not true. And here's the parents' feedback. And you can tell that parents also learned about this part of the history through their child, and then started to talk about their own history. We don't have many Japanese American families. It's probably like 10%. And also there's a Japanese from Japan. Japanese from Japan, they don't know anything about Japanese American concentration, the incarceration camp experience. But they started to talk about their own history. They make connections to other civil rights movements and current issues. So here's a new challenge. A lot of times I said Fred Korematsu stood up for Japanese American, which is not really true because he was actually isolated. But Fred Korematsu stood up for all Americans because he believed the principles of the Japanese Constitution and democracy. And also, I thought they needed more support to understand the connections, what they're learning. And I normally do, not normally, but I've done like a student activist speech and human rights in March. Toward the end of the school year. But so I thought this was previous work. I thought they were doing great at that time. But when I heard when I listened to students, they really couldn't explain why and why they are supporting this or why they want to stand up for certain issues. So I looked at the social justice standards, and I really liked that these 4 domains: identity, diversity, justice, and action. And here's the importance of narrative. Why? Sorry, I'm just gonna go quickly. And here I got these case studies from We Are All American workshop, and it was very helpful because each story, I'll share this slide with you. I created the hyperlink for each story. It was age appropriate. A lot of times the Japanese American history, incarceration camp experience, students, my 4th grade students have a hard time understanding when they have to read some of the materials, because it's more like for targeted for middle school or high school, not for elementary school student, but these are created for younger students. And here I got this idea from Molly, and this example was very easy for my student to access. So I created this keywords and terms for my 4th grade students. And I also created, I found this website. If you put each word, I can create the PDF file and I can print it out so that they can, my students love the hands-on activity. They love the digital activity, but I think after more than 1 year of distance learning in San Francisco, we couldn't really meet in person for more than 1 year. So it's more like they like to do the hands-on activity. And here's a poster, but I couldn't really be with my students for a whole time because of the statewide testing. And also I got a COVID toward the end of the year. So more than 1 week, I was out. So I was communicating with my sub and other teachers to do this project. So, but when I look at this in the middle, they put the Fred Korematsu, and they were putting racism or U.S. government and those things. And they were also trying to come up with the reasons why those wars come together. And here's the other group. This is the other group too. And toward the end of the very end of the school year, I did the students' speech and also activism in front of parents. So me and my students worked together to create this opportunity. And this time I said that let's do, what you want to stand up for. And it didn't have to be about the Japanese American history, or it didn't have to be about the racism. And also I created this for to support students to write a speech. And you can tell that there's a hexagonal maps, and they were coming up with a different reasoning. So it really helped my students have a dialogue. And that was very exciting, because I really enjoyed talking with my students. And here's the march, and they were very excited to just show, and they think this is a great thing. This is for justice. And fourth grade students, they really care about what's fair, what's not fair. So we also invited families to join. And here's a student speech on racism, and this is about democracy, this is about climate change. So now this is for maybe you, and Molly, you're here, so I feel kind of strange to share this with you, but I created a template based on what Molly shared. And but maybe just, so this is what I will give you. I'm gonna put in the chat. This is exactly, I just erased your words, Molly. And so maybe if you're teacher, if you're teaching, and you have the certain students that what social issues are your students interested in? And for example, my student last year, they were so into climate change, climate justice. So I created this for my students. This is a part of my graduate school project, but they came up with, so I just put the different words, and we really had a very heated discussion talking about this. So I thought that was very nice. Okay, so I'm gonna go back and let me share just again. Let me share the I'll give you the this is Molly's. Let me. Okay, and here is the so I created this slide I just shared. So maybe you can, if you could make a copy, that'll be great. All right, yeah, thank you, Molly. What time is it? We have about five more minutes or so. Do you have any questions, or you maybe you want to share what you do? Oh, thank you, Liz, for the comment.
This is really interesting. I just finished my dissertation, and I did a ethnographic research in my 5th grade classroom on critical literacy. So we didn't do specifically the hexagonal thinking, but it was a lot of looking at really through our reading and writing workshop, which we incorporated social studies into a lot of social justice issues, right? And how kids are talking about it, how are they writing about it, how excited they are about it, and how it's really the adults, the admin, right, that have issues, not the kids. So this is wonderful. Thank you. I would love to read your dissertation if it's finished or when it's finished.
I haven't started yet. I probably, yeah.
When you get there, I'd love to read. If you want somebody to read it, I will read it.
Thank you. Yeah, that'll be nice. It's gonna take a long time, I'm sure, but I enjoy the process of learning different issues and coming to this study group and sharing the how we implement. We learn a lot of theories, right? But how you implement in a classroom is totally different, aspect. And so I really appreciate to work together with these, wonderful educators. And thank you. How about Molly? How you are doing, and how's your project going?
Which one? Are you talking about? So I just, as far as the hexagonal learning goes, one of my collaborative teammates at my school brought that to us for a review for one of our units in American history, in US history, and she had seen it on TikTok. And so so we brought that in, and it's one of those things that my 7th graders in my US history class, they could say, oh yeah, this is why this is connected to this, and they could have a conversation, and 5 minutes later they didn't remember what they'd said or understand what they were talking about. So we did this in class, but I said, but you can't talk about it, you can only write about it. So you can discuss it with your group, but then you have to write about it, and then we'll share out. And it really changed how they understood the connections, which I found interesting. And so when we finished it, like the next day, the kids are like, so when do we get to do that again? And so we found different ways to really incorporate that. The other teachers are like, this is the stupidest thing we've ever done. And my kids loved it. And then I did it with my 6th graders for Minnesota history, and they thought it was the coolest thing too. And then for that one, I had them do group writing. They had to write their connections as a group, and then they had to write individual connections and share that. And it was very interesting then to see how much it solidified their thinking, or excuse me, their learning about the topic when they really wrote about it. And then they kind of got the understanding of, oh, this is why we write in social studies. So it's something I'm really going to incorporate a lot more this year into my 6th grade and my 7th grade classes.
Great, thank you for sharing. How about you, Sydney?
Yeah, well, I really connected to you during the groups, Junko, because not very many of us were teaching younger kids, and you were teaching 4th grade and I was teaching 3rd grade. And people underestimate how deeply these kids can think. And I love that you included the examples of your student work and how it had progressed, the deeper thinking. And kids are committed. They have strong beliefs. So, and I'm not sure, my project didn't end up in that video. I submitted my video.
Oh, yeah, I remember you were talking about,
yeah, so the project that I did was historical fiction book groups.
Right.
And I had to really search hard for books that were appropriate for elementary, because as you mentioned, a lot of it is aimed at high school kids. And so I found 5 novels that were elementary appropriate and with young protagonists. And we had some great book groups and great discussions. Yeah.
Which book did you do? Did you find?
I did 5. Journal of Ben Uchida, Sylvia and Aki.
Oh, yeah.
Paper Wishes, Diamond in the Desert. What was my 5th one? Oh, Dash.
Oh, okay, great. I used some of them too.
Yeah.
And
So I had a packet that they had, literature tasks, and that they could collect vocabulary. Somebody in the group suggested to me how the vocabulary. That was one of the things I had gotten from our study group. Oh yeah, have the kids bring the vocabulary to the class. And I said they could bring it in English or Japanese. So kids would bring up terms like issei, nisei, sansei, and teach that to the class, or shikata nagai, or what were geta? What is this geta that they going in, all these Japanese words as well as English words. And we looked at the euphemisms of
Right,
evacuee. What does that mean? And
exactly.
yeah, little kids. So I can find, I submitted my 1-minute video. I can send it to you guys.
I'm
I don't know.
sorry.
Didn't get in there. I don't know.
Yeah, strange. Are we, just again, I think, are we going back, or just, do they let us know? Just, I think maybe 5 more minutes.
Well, there's my book club video.
Great,
It's
great,
1 minute long,
great. Thank you.
but basically it's what I said.
And sorry, before we go back, any of you can report back? I was asked to ask someone.
How much time do we have here now?
I think we are going back now.
Oh, okay.
But I thought we were we are getting the reminder.
Okay.
So all right. Anything else? I guess
I'm going to try that hexagonal activity next year. I remember liking it at study group, and then I didn't end up implementing it toward the end of the year, but I want to do it.
yeah. Oh, we have 5 minutes left.
Okay.
So it was I was asked to, take time for participants to do something. So we could look at the hexagonal activity slide, or maybe we can just think about or share, how we're gonna use it or implement. It's definitely I really need to start earlier. The hexagonal thinking, I just dropped it at the very end of the school year. So students were, I think they liked it, but then I didn't have much time to go through it, and then how to use it. Just like you said, Molly. I think for writing, making it as a writing process, I think that is a really good strategy.
I wonder too I'm sorry. I wonder if you could use it, or if you have used it, to see what kids know. So whether it, like you did with loyalty, right, with us, and you could, pre-writing, pre-thinking, and then sharing out, and then have that sort of aside, and then you do your work, at the unit or whatever, and then you do it again, and then the kids could actually see how their thinking has changed.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. I could use it for assessment as well, right? Because then I can hear, or I can see how they are developing their thinking, and what I can see, what I need to do next. Or just like you said, the beginning, like a pre-writing activity, and then also post-writing activity, we could use it as an assessment, ongoing assessment. Or
I didn't want to use that word assessment, but yes.
We actually did that with our 7th graders when we first introduced it. They did it as a group project or group activity, as a formative in class, where the writing that they did was group writing. So when they were describing their connections and making those connections, they had to do it as a group. But then we did a graded formative. Was that a formative for them? Yeah, a graded formative before their summative, where they had to do it individually. And we set it up in Google. So it was a Google Doc and they could move the hexagons with the words. And we even gave them some blank hexagons in case there was some words that they wanted to add from the unit as well. And then I was able to then give them feedback individually before their summative. So we kind of did it both ways. And it worked out really nice. So.
I really like that you said you talked with each student about that, right? Because then I'm sure they appreciate it that you took time to talk to them. We still Liz. So your focus is can you tell me what your focus is, your research?
Yeah, I built my work on Vivian Velasquez, who's Canadian researcher. She looked at critical literacy with preschoolers, and so critiquing, asking questions, disrupting, and taking action. And basically, like what we said, like elementary school kids do this all the time, right? But it's giving them the space, the platform, the language to do it. So that was a big part of my lens. And then I looked at, it was teacher research. So I looked at within my own classroom, what was happening. So what was the focus of what my kids were doing, what I was doing, what was the positionality of my students, and what was the change that happened. So yeah, I'm happy to send it to you. It's on it's published. So yeah.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
Yes, I would love to read it.
Okay, I'll put it, well, if I hurry up or go, I only have 15 seconds.
Well, maybe we can go back and can you share?
Sure.
That'll be good. Okay. All right. Great. Thank you so much. Oh, we need to share out, right?
And like I said, those are pictures that the vast majority, there's a few of them you saw in Grace's presentation, but the vast majority of them were never shown to the public because the War Relocation Authority felt that they were too sympathetic to the Japanese Americans, as opposed to the American, we got to do this. It's a good thing. It's supposed to show how great these camps are and how protective they are. Yeah.
There were originally over 80, but I cut out all the pictures that didn't have people in them, because I wanted them to voice, the people that were in the pictures. So,
yeah, great.
All right, is everyone back now? I think so.
I think so.
Yeah, we only have a few minutes, so let's get started. Do we have a reporter from Ads Room? If you could just speak up.
Oh, would that be me? Hi. Well, let's see. I'm 6th grade language arts, so I kind of looked at it from that lens. So I didn't write everything down. But as a side note, there's a Scholastic magazine article that I use with my kids every year. It's called Behind Barbed Wires, that talks about the subject. So I went into this wanting to incorporate some things when I used that unit. So she shared some case studies, how she had her kids use case studies, and they write what happened. And there were some other questions that she had up that kind of went kind of fast, but I think that would be good for informational writing for the kids to be able to do. She showed how she tied it into US history and civil rights and incorporated that text in there so that it will meet the standards that the school is always requiring in the essential questions. The book Sylvia and Aki, which all kids of all ages love books, and when you read to them, and then had the kids write letters to the characters, and I thought that was a great tool. And then I talked about text reconstruction and sentence unpacking to really delve deeper into the text, and a political cartoon of analyzing a political cartoon. So there were a lot of strategies that she spoke about to incorporate this into our studies. And I hope I didn't miss anything.
All right, thank you so much, Candace. It's hard to squeeze everything into 30 minutes and much less a few minutes after that. So let's see, Marty and Amber's room. Is there someone who would like to speak up from there?
Go.
Oh, go ahead.
So we worked with 6-word memoirs and photos that weren't really shown to the public. Very much that tie into the propaganda, and you want to make people look like what you are hoping everyone else will see them as, so that people will be afraid. And they weren't scary photos. They were everyday photos of events that all of us have pictures of in a lot of cases. So having the kids focus and really, really choose appropriate language, because you only have 6 words, so you got to use your words wisely. That was really hard. But it was also, I think it's meaningful. They also had the kids do a postcard, or they could use a quote. So this is one that you could use in a lot of different ways for a lot of different types of writing. And so it was really cool.
Thank you so much. What I really like about all these presentations is they really shared with us a way to get into the classroom with a complicated curriculum that it's not generally on state standards, and linked it. So Junko.
I think we didn't decide who's gonna share out. Anyone?
Please, so Junko can hear what you got. Could someone please volunteer?
I'm happy to volunteer. I really appreciate hearing about the I've forgotten the word. What shape are they? Pentagonal? No, what are they? Hexagonal, sorry. The hexagonal, a tool to help kids think about different concepts around a specific person or idea. And Junko really packed it in. She's done a lot with social justice work with her 4th graders, and from them writing speeches and doing marches, but she saw that they weren't really thinking about why they chose certain people and why they cared about that topic. So then she brought in, let's see, who's the person who did that? Molly's idea of the hexagonal, and I don't know if that could be put in the chat. I know it was shared with us in the chat. This tool that was basically, I think we saw in the video that you basically, it's like a web, right? But with hexagons, and then but the difference, I think, is that you can manipulate, move them either digitally or with paper, like Junko showed us, her students did as well. And you talk about it. So the kids talk about it and they write about it. So like Molly mentioned that with her kids who are middle schoolers, they really saw that the process of moving those hexagons also led to the writing and thinking in different ways, and seeing why the kids, like this kid saw why writing was helpful in their thinking. So that was, I thought it was great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You may be starting hexagon fever in this group here. Thank you so much. I really like the way you looked at the work and you said, I got to get the kids to think about why are they making these statements? And you use the hexagons to help them do that. We have, before we move on, I just want to introduce the other members who didn't present and who are here. I saw Sydney. Sydney, you want to raise your hand? Just wave, Sydney. Hi. And Molly. And Carly was here, but I know her internet is kind of wonky, so she might have left. Anybody else? I don't see you. Okay, so we are almost at the closing, but is there one comment or question that people want to, someone wants to make? Well, I have something. One is if you would like to join the study group, if we get funding for it, the requirements are that you attend a workshop. So we have one more virtual workshop, and I put it way up in the chat. It's tomorrow. It's 3.5 hours on Wednesday and Thursday, and it's about farming while incarcerated. And we're calling it posting, because that's, if we were going locally, we would, I mean, well, it is posting, but if we were going, we would be in Phoenix, and we'd be talking about the 2 concentration camps that were built on Indian reservations there. So we'll have a special speaker talking about that, and then we'll be going through our curriculum. So you're welcome to join. There's lots of space. It's virtual. Just follow that link to go. And anything else, Christina?
Yes, well, just a round of applause for everybody. I want to just thank you so much for sharing this excellent work. And I feel like this is a very rich set of resources and conversations that we all just had. And we created a space in the teacher studio for us both to share these resources so that you can access them beyond this event. And I'm just going to put the link to that in the chat right now. That link will log you directly into this space. So just a real quick screen share. I can show you, if you go to the NWP Teacher Studio, once you're logged in, it'll look like this. And right now we're featuring it. It's called the Deeper Dive. We are all Americans teaching together. And so if you click here or you follow Deeper Dive on the left, you'll be able to find this group. And here we are linking we have all the resources that Grace shared at the beginning. We have links to the full elementary and secondary curriculum for We All Are All Americans. And then we will be posting all of the slideshows and resources that the teachers shared here, as well as the archive from this discussion. Those will be up later tomorrow. And finally, the farm labor workshop that Grace just mentioned that starts tomorrow is linked here too. So we welcome you to come into this space. We welcome you to introduce yourself and talk, share a bit more of what you gained from this conversation. And we hope to, continue to support each other in this important work as and using this space as one way to do that too. I think that's it. Any other good for the order comments anybody wanted to make or share? Thank you all.
I just want to say thank you. It was really wonderful to see so many people coming to a group in the summer and giving up precious few hours left of your vacation. And I'm so proud of the people who presented. It was great. Thank you so much.
And I just want to encourage anybody who has colleagues who you think this might be of interest to, invite them to come to that deeper dive, because we will have the resources there and be able to continue these conversations. So thank you, everyone. Oh, thank you so much for all your great work. Great job, team.
Thank you.
You guys
Trying
want
to
to
stop the recording. So
Oh, I can stop it.
can you stop it? I
think
clicked
so.
stop and it's not quite stopping.
Oh. Well, I don't know.
Anyway,
Maybe I can't do what I'm going to pause it at least.
yeah, can you pause it? Okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
For some reason, it's like, yeah, it's weird.
I think
A little glitch.
You pause it and then sometimes, another glitch is, oh, Marty left. This is new. When you put up something in front of your shared screen, like, you're trying to do.
Double, yeah.
This is new, right? Has that always happened?
Yeah, I never noticed that. Anne noticed it and said something. I think she had, Anne, you're on mute. I think she had a screen popped up.
Oh, you know what? I know that people, when I use my Mac, it doesn't seem to happen, but it's when people use non-Macs, like at their Chromebooks or their Surface laptops at school, when their chat box is there, and those things on Zoom that show up, they start blocking whatever's on your share screen. But
Oh, it's even the chat box. Yeah, it's even the chat
boxes
box.
and participant boxes and things like that. Those things that are open, you have to close them out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I thought half an hour would be enough time, but I was like rushing at the end. It was like, oh no.
Oh.
So yeah.
I think you were, you know, you did it for us in a half hour.
Because
before,
there's more
but
interactive parts.
Then we went to the writing project.
Yeah.
And
But when you
taught
said there has to be interactive parts, it's like, okay, so then that's what makes it a little longer.
Yeah.
So